Welcome to Chart's free webinar series. Today, we are pleased to have an expert panel with us, Rachael, Jeff of Opus, and then we have Ashley with Bonchon presenting on how AI will be changing training for the better or maybe for the worse. Welcome, Rachael, Jeff, and Ashley, and thanks for being with us today. Rachael, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Braxton. That I couldn't have asked anyone to say that title better or more dramatically than you. So I deeply, deeply appreciate that. We didn't even rehearse it, so can't do that twice. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachael Nemeth. I am the CEO and co-founder of Opus Training. We're going to talk about the thing that is on your screen today, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I have two people here who I am so pleased to be beside, who I'm going to introduce just in a minute here. If you're joining, please, throughout the webinar, please feel welcome to throw something into Q&A, throw something into chat. I might address it in the middle and interrupt our beautiful panelists. I might wait till the end to address it, but please don't hesitate to toss your questions in. They help. This is a conversation. But first, just a little bit about Opus and why the hell I'm here. Heck, I'm here. I cuss a lot. I promise that's probably the worst it's going to get. A little bit about why I was talking to the chart team about why we thought this was important, not only because AI is in the headlines, but because it's a lot of how we think at Opus. Opus is about access. What we're doing is we're building the most accessible training platform for businesses with a deskless workforce on the planet. It's a big task. We're working hard at it. And we're doing it with mobile first technology, with translation technology that helps you reach your workforce in 100 languages. And we're also doing a lot with AI, but AI is a bit of a mystery to the world now. And so we wanted to kind of explore it. And much of this conversation is going to be around how you can leverage AI in really beautiful ways, hacking it together on your own or thinking creatively around ways that you can use existing tools. So without further ado, I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Ashley. 3 questions for you, and then Jeff, 3 questions for you, or I guess 2, well, 3. Okay, we're just going to go for it. First is, who are you? How do I know you? The second is, why did you even want to be on this panel today? Why did you say yes? And then third is, what's just one word, which is my favorite challenging question, one word you would use to describe AI in training? By the way, everyone listening, I would encourage you to throw your single word into the chat as well. I'd love to see what you have to say. So Ashley, let's kick it off with you.
Hello, my name is Ashley Helkenn. I work for Bonchon Korean Fried Chicken. We're based out of Dallas, have over 100 locations in the US and many, many more overseas. Rachael and I met years ago during an RFP process and have stayed in touch. And then Chart has helped us stay in touch as well. And with all the buzz around AI, I'm just super excited to see how Chart collectively can move the industry forward by embracing this technology. Super excited about it. And my one word would be endless.
I love it. I'm also seeing Josh Davies wrote intriguing. So there's some interest. So Jeff, you better come up with a new word here. I'm going to toss it over to Jeff Silver, who I have the pleasure of sitting beside and working beside each day. Jeff, can you introduce yourself and answer these questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to call it out now. Rachael and I are in different booths. We have separate padded walls between us. But anyways, I'm Jeff Silver. I'm CTO. I'm co-founder of Opus. And I think right now we're just at a really exciting moment in time. AI is starting to become accessible to everyone. And I'm just really excited about what AI can do to make accessible training. And kind of as a segue from there, I'd say the one word I would use to describe AI in training would be optimistic.
I love that. And it's a feeling too, right? It's not just about what it is. It's also about how it can really impact our lives, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about. But before we dig in with our expert panelists, what I want to do is talk a little bit about why I chose them, and then actually toss things over to you all. Obviously, I have the pleasure of working beside Jeff each day. He is all things knowledgeable as Chief Technology Officer about artificial intelligence and all of the things that come underneath that large umbrella. It's a lot of what he and our team are thinking about each day. So it was helpful to have him in the room as a tech expert. But we wanted to see the other side. Ashley has seen so many edges of the restaurant industry and the training world, and is always a forward-thinking friend and colleague. And so she was the obvious person I wanted to bring on here. She also never holds back her opinions, which are people I like to bring onto panels. So I'm also seeing a few more interesting words come in. Interesting, tandem, time-saving, powerful, padded walls at Opus. Yes, but I wouldn't consider that your one word, Braxton. So what I want to do is everyone get your fingers ready. I'm actually going to put a poll out there to the world. I want to ask you 3 questions because I think there's about 50 of us here in the room. There's going to be more people who are listening in later. How you feel about AI and kind of take your temperature. So we're going to start a poll here, and we're going to address 3 specific areas. The first is just generally speaking AI for work. The second is training leaders and your prior knowledge about AI. And the third is how you feel about AI. So I'm going to go ahead, and if I can pull up my poll, I'm going to launch the poll. No good teacher would be effective if she didn't give you a time limit. So I'm going to give you 45 seconds to complete this poll. You should see it now in your Zoom. It should pop up. I think it pops up as a little pop-up there. Go ahead and submit your answers. Your first question is going to be, for those of you who are listening in, yes, no question. Have you used AI for training purposes in the past? Yes, no, or I'm not sure. You might not even know if you've used AI. The second question is, how would you rate your knowledge of AI today? Just you. There's a lot of headlines floating out there. I'm sure there's lots of articles and resources. Would you consider yourself proficient, adequate, or uninformed? The way I like to view it in the poll world is proficient is you're the host of the whole damn party. Adequate is I've been here before. And uninformed is I'm new here. So that gives us an understanding of how well we can support you today. And also, I think your colleagues of where they can be supportive. Got about 25 people who have submitted answers on the poll. Keep it coming. And the last question is arguably the most important, which is, how do you feel about the use of AI in training in general? Are you convinced? Emphatically convinced? Are you somewhat convinced? Are you kind of waiting and seeing? So you're neutral. Are you skeptical? Are you super skeptical? So we want to hear how you're feeling today. And we're going to talk a little bit about why some of those sentiments are changing and shifting these days. So I'm going to end the poll here, and let's see. Hopefully I can do this right and see what answers come up. Okay, I'm going to share results. I think everyone can see. Ashley, can you give me a nod if everyone can see? Yes. Okay, awesome. So interestingly, how many of you have used AI for training purposes in the past? 32% said yes, 60% said no, and 8% said I'm not sure. Really interesting. And I wanted to make sure we put that I'm not sure, because frankly, I'm one of those people. Sometimes I'm not sure if what I'm using is AI or not. We're going to talk about that. Second is, how would you rate your knowledge of AI today? About 6% of you said proficient. You're the host of the party. You can talk about and share that cocktail with somebody talking about AI. 42% of you said you feel adequate about your knowledge of AI. You've been to the party before. Maybe you can mix a drink for someone. And about 53% of you said you are uninformed. You're new here. So what we'll do is Jeff and Ashley and myself will make sure that we're kind of catering to those of you who are feeling like a little new, or maybe you have adequate knowledge but want to get to that proficiency state. And last, this is the most interesting one. How do you feel about the use of AI in training? So 21%, this is a kind of an even split here, I think. 21% of you, actually, let me do it this way. So it's 57% of you either feel very convinced or somewhat convinced about the use of AI in training. That's over half of you. 32% are neutral. And 11% are somewhat or very skeptical about AI. That's a great, great breakdown. I think it's important to be skeptical about anything new that's put in front of you, and it's important to ask questions. So let's get to it. Again, I just want to invite everyone as we're talking here to go ahead and submit all of your questions. I'm also going to do a check on I'm going to stop sharing and look at our beautiful panelists so we can get to work. So I want to start with some definitions. I'm actually going to start with you, Jeff, king of definitions and analogies. There's human intelligence, then there's artificial intelligence or AI. But we also hear terms like machine learning and neural networks and chatbots. So can you just give us a basic understanding between those three, the difference between AI, machine learning, and chatbots? I think we hear it a lot in the training world, and breaking that down would be helpful for everyone.
Sure. Yeah, so AI is a broad field, and there's a lot of subsets within it. But really what AI means is any method that lets machines perform tasks that would normally require a human to do them, right? So things like building course content, or even things like drawing a Snapchat filter on someone. These are things that computers can now do that previously would have required a human to do them instead. So when it comes to machine learning, that's one of those subsets of AI. So machine learning is a subset of AI that involves training computers to learn from data in order to complete a task. So it's a little nuance there. So I think an example really helps. Every single person on this webinar received an email invite. So let's talk about email. One of the big things that I get frustrated with about email is spam. However, it's unbelievable how much progress we've made in terms of filtering out spam from all of our inboxes. For an email to actually land in someone's inbox, it goes through all sorts of different filters in order to make sure that the person is actually who they say they are, and it's not someone who's trying to like rip you off or something like that. And there's two really interesting ways that spam filters can work. One of them is by keywords. So for example, in the Gmail servers, there's like a long list of words. And if those words are in an email, that flags them as potential to be spam. So if someone's like asking you for money or pretending to be like someone they're not, those keywords can filter out an email. So that's an example of artificial intelligence that is not machine learning. Another type of spam filter would be one that's built off of a machine learning model. In order to do that, you could have people separate out emails. You could have maybe 1 million emails where a person has said, hey, this is spam. Maybe they've flagged it in their own inbox, and then 1 million emails that are not spam. And you can just give that data set to a computer, and it would learn the differences between spam and not spam. It would try to understand what makes something spammy based on the initial data set that was provided to it. So both of those kind of have the same effect, right? Keeping junk out of your inbox, but both of them are developed in a very different way. And when it comes to chatbots, it's oftentimes a program that uses both of those, right? So a chatbot is really just a program that a human can talk to, and it's just a computer on the other end, right? So I'm sure we've all been on the American Airlines chatbot support, or Delta Airlines or something like that. The chatbot can kind of take you through a journey that will answer your question. And if it needs to, it can loop in another person, a person who can actually help answer your question. So the way it would kind of guide you through that journey is by using both of those techniques.
I'm pretty sure that I have personally contributed to spam artificial intelligence significantly over the years.
Mhm.
So I just learned something new.
Totally. I think all of us have. And as we all kind of flag those emails in our inbox, the machine learning model gets better. So if Rachel flags some spam, when that person tries to get into Braxton's inbox, it'll just get blocked before it even gets there.
And it's the same with translation technology, right? Like Google Translate and things like that, or is that different?
Yeah, so that's like a different kind of artificial intelligence. A lot of those use what's called a neural network, which is just another subset of AI that's really focused around decision making. But it's at the end of the day, both underneath that AI umbrella.
So this next question, I think, is a really important one. It's one I've been asking myself. The concept of just like, why now? I'm actually going to start with you, Ashley, and then I'm going to let Jeff chime in with his perspective as a technologist. But AI is not new; it's been around for many, many years, and but now we're seeing, in pretty much every newspaper, something around how AI has reached a turning point. It's better than ever. Machine learning algorithms are better than ever. Ashley, why do you think now AI is making these like massive headlines and starting to hit professionals like us?
I think for me, it's the first time that it's felt like AI is useful, that there's so many softwares out there and so much machine learning, just anything, but the time to learn it before you can use it, a lot of us don't have that sort of time. And it's scary, right? That tech fear is real, even for people who are comfortable with technology. And so that it's accessible, that we can see results immediately, and that we can make the links between playing around with it and seeing how it can help us very quickly. The world it's just endless possibilities of ways you can try to use it. So I think it's that combined with how fast the industry is changing. There's just a need for time sensitivity.
That's interesting. Yeah, and many of us haven't even touched its possible uses yet. But yet the belief is there, right? Like 53% of the people in this room said, I'm pretty convinced that AI is going to impact training, which we're going to get to at our next question. Jeff, I'm going to toss it to you as a technologist. Why now? Why the heck is everyone talking about AI? Why do we care now? Why didn't we care a decade ago?
Yeah, so I mean, each year there's just so many advancements in technology. I'm sure we've all felt it with our cell phones, right? Like each time you get a new iPhone, it's smaller and it's faster and it's better. And the same thing with your laptops. And this is a trend that's continued for decades and decades and decades. And essentially what's happened is we've gotten to a point where it's really easy to have computers that are incredibly high performance. And what that has done has unlocked a lot of new possibilities and new things that we previously could only dream of, because our computers are now so fast and so powerful. And a lot of that research has been coming out of a company called OpenAI, who's really at the forefront of artificial intelligence. And really the uptick in AI in the news has kind of been surrounded around this release from OpenAI called GPT-3, which is a new AI model that has been made available to the public. And I think it's worth kind of talking about what that means, because it ties directly into what you were saying, Ashley, around AI is like useful and accessible now. And it all kind of comes down to like, what does this GPT-3 thing even do? So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Do we have to remember that?
You don't have to remember it, but what's actually great, this is a great definition. It's a great name because it says exactly like what the thing does. So generative means that it creates things, right? It is something that can create, it generates. But really the key part is in the middle here, pre-trained. So GPT-3 was trained on the largest data set that an AI model has ever been trained on. It's 175 billion parameters, which is far, far more than any AI model before GPT-3. And so what that pre-training does is it essentially creates this thing that understands the world. It understands pretty much all of the text that was on the internet before 2019. And it's taking all of this data and generating relationships and understanding how things are connected to each other. And then it can go back to that first part of generating to answer questions and to create content, even to create images. And so that pre-training of this algorithm has kind of made AI feel really accessible all of a sudden. And the last part, transformer, that's just like the architecture it runs on. It's not that important, but really the key part of GPT-3 is pre-trained. And 3, meaning this is the third version of GPT that OpenAI has developed. Was that too technical? Ashley, how'd we do?
I understood it mostly.
Good.
I don't remember what it stands for though.
Yeah, pre-trained, that's the important part.
And we thought it would be helpful to actually start with some definitions, I think, to arm everybody with the fact that like this is something that's learnable. You don't have to learn how to code, but kind of knowing the inner workings of it and knowing to this whole theme of like it's usable, which we're about to get into, is really important. Ashley, I'm going to toss it over to you. One of the reasons why I wanted to invite you here is because of a text you sent me about 2 months ago. I was at dinner after a board meeting and like my brain was drained of all possible ideas. I had just spilled them out on a table. And you texted me something about AI, just like friend to friend, trainer to trainer. Do you remember what that text was about? And why were you so excited about it as a training professional?
I do remember that text. I remember worried about when I sent it, but I had to tell you that, you know, restaurants.
That was not accusatory, by the way. It was a refreshing text.
No, I was looking around and doing some research and playing around with stuff. And I long believed that restaurants are equal parts arts and science. And the science we've mostly got, right? But the art of it is the hardest part to train. And that it just feels like for the first time, there is software that would allow us to do what's really needed right now, which is to create an engaging experience while we execute for our team members and our guests, but also to deal with the things that change quickly, like de-escalation training, that is inherently really difficult to do at a distance. Yeah, and I was so excited I had to pick your brain about it.
Yeah, and it really got my wheels spinning as well. It's a lot of what the impetus for this conversation was today. So in order to really talk about these kind of interesting uses or use cases for AI, we thought it would actually be fun in the thread of Valentine's Day for Jeff to kind of do a quick demo, not of our product, but of ChatGPT, so you can all see how it works. Quick, just throw in the chat, yes or no, if you have actually used ChatGPT before. I'm super curious. Just toss in a quick yes or no. Got a lot of yeses here. Yes for fun, no. Okay. I think I'm seeing like yeses and nos. I know Valentine's Day is always a very controversial holiday, but we'll try to spice it up and make everyone's day better. Jeff, can you share screen and just do a quick demo, and then we'll go into some other uses.
I have some bad news. So one of the problems with AI is that it's complicated technology, and every now and then GPT, so many people try to use it at once that it goes down. And so I just went to pull up the demo and I got the error message, even as a GPT Plus subscriber, that ChatGPT is at capacity right now. I will get notified when it's back, so maybe we can do this a little later on. But essentially what I can just kind of talk about what it would do. So ChatGPT is, going back to those definitions, it is a chatbot built on this GPT-3 model. And as I said earlier, GPT-3 is great at generating text and understanding intention. So you can, if the system was working, you can go ahead and type in anything you want the AI to do. So what I would have typed in was, please write me a Valentine's Day poem. And it would have created a sonnet that was in perfect form, iambic pentameter, all the above. And it would be a poem that would probably be pretty hard to identify as written by AI. What you can then do is take that poem and ask the AI model to update it. So one of my favorite artists is David Bowie. So I could say, now make the poem seem like it was written by David Bowie. And then it would update that poem that it wrote to talk about the starman and the moon. And it would become like this ethereal, like outer space love poem. And then you could keep going on and on and on and write the poem of your dreams. But of course, that's assuming that ChatGPT is up and running.
Still nascent. Well, let's dive in then. I think everyone has a sense of it. Actually, Jeff, I want to actually have you kind of like toggle back and forth here. Let's think about practical examples. We know who's in the room here. I'm seeing like Matt Nelson from Modern Training. I'm seeing folks from all across walks of life at Chart here. What are a few ways that we can actually deliberately and thoughtfully use AI for training? Give some practical examples. Like one of the ways I've thought about it. Oh, Jeff is pulling it up. All right.
We're back. Matt, thank you for the tip. Awesome. So I just asked ChatGPT to write me a Valentine's Day poem. And this is pretty good. So now maybe we can say thank you.
You say thank you to AI?
Yeah, you got to be nice to AI. So now it's now we have this great poem about shooting stars colliding and creating a love that will never subside.
Wow.
This is powerful stuff.
It's fast too.
It's very fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Chad,
very good.
if you aren't nice, you might make Skynet.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, can you take it one step further for us?
Sure.
Can you tell it to make it shorter or longer? Like, can we get more specific around those requirements?
There you go. Make it shorter.
Josh wants you to slow it down so he can screenshot it and send it to its wife.
Yeah. I'll post it in the chat after.
This is real winning content here. Make it a limerick.
My grandfather's favorite poem is a limerick. There you go.
In space where stars do gleam, our love will always beam. With you, my cosmic mate, our love is truly great. Together forever we'll dream. Wow, Jeff, good work.
Very good.
I'll
post these in the chat right
now. So you're seeing the nuts and bolts of how this could really transform our world as trainers, but it kind of goes beyond. One of the things that I think is interesting is of course, like around the context of content building. You know, so much of what we need to create as training professionals needs to be curated to our brand and the needs of our teams. Ashley, you referenced de-escalation training. Well, that can be specific to your region, to your type of service, to your restaurant, to your guests. And so having off-the-shelf training is wonderful and saves us time, but it doesn't always solve the problem. So I think a lot about that when we're thinking about AI and how it can really help us generate this really beautiful custom content. What are some other areas, Ashley, we'll start with you and then we'll toss it over to Jeff, that you have kind of brainstormed that AI could be suitable for you?
So for us, a big focus for us here at Bonchon is to bridge literacy and language barriers. And in branching scenarios or role play scenarios, a lot of times that's really difficult. And that people with those challenges, it makes role play even more difficult. So to open up that channel is amazing for us. But what we get back from it, or what we could get back from it, is to data mine keywords to realize what are they actually taking away from this? And so where are we missing the mark? Instead of, did they choose the right branching scenario, where we really kind of, at best, make it only slightly difficult for them to go down the wrong path. That's what I'm most excited about.
That's interesting. So using AI to kind of pull out keywords so you can track employee trends, business trends, other things, so you can make better business decisions, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Jeff, over to you.
Yeah, I think I love what you just said about like literacy, right? So AI could help make sure we're building more accessible content. We could easily build, some kind of feature that looks at your course content and tells you what kind of reading level that course is tailored to, right? To make sure that you're writing courses that everybody can understand. I think one thing that could also be really interesting that I'm excited about is image matching. So let's say like you need to learn how to make, I don't know, some kind of Bonchon spread, and there's a photo of it that's correct. And then as someone who's going through training needs to, put everything in the bowls and take a photo of it, AI could automatically grade that and make sure that they did everything correctly.
I love that. What I would love to see is one of the, with so much moving off premise, that we have ways of how do you check a bag to make sure everything's in it, but some sort of image software that could validate it.
Sure.
Because that we spend more money on refunds for something small missing when we could just front load it and validate it. That'd be a game changer for us.
Totally. And it's kind of that same idea, right? Where if the algorithm can understand intention and also like what the right thing looks like, it can fill in the gaps to make sure that the images match, that everything's in the bag or not.
I've also thought a lot about things just around helping us as trainers build frameworks. Like sometimes I feel like when I was a trainer, all I really wanted was someone to do the basic outline for me. And I can fill in the expert content, but something that just said, I need to write a 7-day course for servers who have not been in the restaurant industry before. And something that can kind of help me think through realistically what that could look like, and let me kind of fill in all of the subject matter expertise beyond that. So some of this just comes down to saving all of us time and not necessarily replacing some of the gut work that we need to do. What about concepts? Ashley, I'm in particular curious, and maybe it's related to what you were talking about before. We keep hearing this term adaptive learning more and more, especially from technology companies, but I know that training leaders are thinking about it a lot. How can AI help tailor the learning experience? And Jeff, a question for you too. How can AI help tailor the learning experience to each individual so that they can get the best learning outcomes?
I think for us, it's hard with the way things stand to figure out where they start. In person, we can ask questions to go, what's your experience? What do you know? And then we make the best use of their time and allow them to speed through items they're proficient at, and to slow down and really help them and get their feedback. And that would, it would help us make better use of everyone's time and also their money. But also that we could get that feedback back from them where it's not a survey of on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this? Or how do you think you're doing? Or what their managers or trainers think of them. We can get their feedback in real time about what works, but more importantly, what doesn't. And we can make adjustments really quickly to move forward and make a bigger impact more quickly.
Yeah, I just saw in the chat, a couple of people are writing some interesting things as well. Someone writes, I've been using Murph AI narration programs to put narration on my web-based training. And it does a pretty good job. Someone also wrote, I actually did that this week to compare and contrast. She was referencing you, I think, Ashley, to compare and contrast a training program I already wrote. I wanted to see AI's outline versus my own. It was fascinating. Like, think about ways that you can actually collaborate with AI to get feedback in real time. It's really interesting.
I pasted, what one change can affect so much stuff. Like one small little change means that you have to sort through all of your courses and charts and just all your content to make sure it's all aligned. And I took some stuff, put it into ChatGPT and asked 2 questions. One is, do you see anything major that I'm missing? And it found some inconsistencies, which was nice. But then it also asked some questions. Some were pertinent, some weren't, or it came up with solutions. And so just having that speed to sort through information would save hours worth of time just on a small change.
I keep hearing this thread of saving time. Braxton just wrote that. Being able to kind of switch a program up. Think about if you have to re-up an annual training for folks. It could be compliance, but it could just be, I need everyone to know basic company knowledge. Well, how can we keep our teams engaged long-term? Perhaps if we just provide a new version each year, same general content, but delivered slightly different, that could make an enormous difference on learning outcomes. It's really interesting to think about the things that we just aren't even capable of doing right now as trainers because we're just too damn busy. Like I know there's no shortage of creativity in this room right now, but it really comes down to bandwidth. One other thing I wanted to mention here, and it's always kind of the elephant in the room, is leveraging our frontline managers. So we have ourselves as training leaders, we have field teams who are out there training in person or helping build content. But one thing we continually hear at Opus is, how can I leverage the SMEs that are out there actually delivering that knowledge verbally? My wine director or my sous chef or my, shift leaders. What excites me the most is the possibility of AI actually helping those people be creators as well. And just the library of content that we now have to purchase can actually be generated internally for once.
That's huge. We look a lot at, we tell managers you can't manage from an office and that it's about people engagement. And then we bog them down with needing to do data work to forecast for scheduling and to, all of the ordering, scheduling, equipment fire up times, all of that stuff. When the data is there, if something could just read it and help automate so much of that, they could get back to what they got hired for and what they're passionate at and what they're really good at. They would have more time to learn and create for their teams.
It just makes me think when I was a people operations manager at Union Square Hospitality Group, and literally my job was to eliminate admin work for our managers. That was my only job. And there were so many times where I thought, if technology could do this, I could well, I think, I'm seeing even more things pop into the chat here around possible uses of AI. Jeff, I'm going to toss it to you briefly, really to give people a taste of the problems that we've been solving at Opus. And I preface this to everyone by saying, this is not even the ultimate end to all of this. This is kind of the beginning, and lots of companies are using artificial intelligence in brilliant ways. I'm curious to just get the high level of we're about to release AI-generated AI assist content creator tools at Opus. What inspired the build? What problem did we need to solve? Rather than just kind of build a library of 35,000 courses, stuff like that. Why did we decide to invest on the other side?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we're always trying to do on the product team here is help people build as high quality of content as quickly as possible. And so we've invested a ton in our course builder and in our existing template catalog in order to help people get started and get building quickly. But I want to go back to what Ashley said. It's equal parts arts and science. And it's really hard for an off-the-shelf template to capture the art of how you as a brand or you as a leader talks about your material and talks about your business. And so what we found is that our templates were good for structure, but they kind of felt like they weren't actually kind of belonging to a company's training regimen, right? It felt a little different from something that they would have built themselves. And so what we are trying to do is use AI so that we can understand you, we can understand your tone, we can understand your intention and understand your source material, and then generate your training content for you, right? So once we understand, one, like what is your voice by looking at other stuff that you've written, two, what's your intention for this course? Is it supposed to be very engaging, or is it supposed to be more text-based, or is it funny or serious? And then upload a file of the thing that you want to train people on. And with those inputs, we can create content that feels just like you wrote it. And then after that, all you have to do is go in, proofread, make sure that everything is generated correctly, that the course flows correctly. Chad, shout out to you in the chat. I love that idea that you just shared. Essentially, what Chad is doing is using AI to test content that he has written to make sure it's cohesive and easy to understand. And in general, there's just so much more we can do beyond that, right? Like we have really fast, high quality template generation. So it takes you like 5 minutes to get a course out to people. But then on the periphery, we would need a whole nother hour to go into some of those ideas.
Well, and I'm seeing some other ideas come in. I mean, Travis writes, I'm excited for the day when we can embrace associates using their cell phones to find trainings, like how we can clean certain equipment, how to handle difficult coworkers. Associates are already using their phone in some capacity and doing this, right? We're all self-learning in many ways, right? I see associates who are going to YouTube to find answers and things like that. How can we embrace that and embrace kind of their knowledge hunting and capture that data? I know there's a lot more stuff to talk about, but there's two areas that I know is on everyone's mind. Ashley, you seem to be on the pro side of AI and training, which we will get to in a minute. But I do want to make sure we're talking about the other side. Dare I say, is there a dark side here? What would you say to the skeptics who are listening to convince them otherwise? What are some of the downsides potentially of AI? Or are there any?
I think there's always downsides, right? And there's always scary territory, and it's new. So there's no user manual. We're kind of all painting the bus as we're driving it down the road. But what I would say to skeptics, we'll start there, is that it's not all or nothing. You don't have to all of a sudden turn into an AI forward company. You can test it and see what works for you. You can see, was it helpful? Was it not? How did it help you improve? And just give it a shot. That doesn't hurt anything. And I think if nothing else, if you have the time to do things the long way, congratulations, you're in a minority, but most of us have to move really quickly. And so why not use these amazing tools at our disposal? And trying them isn't a commitment. Yeah, that's the big one. Some of the dark sides are, that we have to know what to tell it, right? That AI is a tool that only works if we use it. And that, so like for us in franchising, we have some joint employer liability issues. And so we have to make sure that we tell things, hey, check for joint employer responsibility. Are we violating any rules? Or what are new rules that have come up, new guidelines about joint employer? But we have to use the tool. We can't just let it run itself.
Well said. I'm curious to hear your take on this, Jeff. Particularly in the world of learning management systems, that's our world, right? How could AI be used improperly inside of a learning management system?
Totally. Yeah, I think I really want to call out what Ashley just said, that it's a tool, right? It's not going to completely do your job for you, right? The thing that AI will help you do is be more efficient and be faster. But at the end of the day, you still need to be operating it. So some downsides of AI that come to mind. When you give it a piece of text to summarize, sometimes it's not going to understand it and it's going to get it wrong, right? So you could easily, if you just, upload something, have it generate a course and send it out, it's possible that there's some incorrect facts in there, right? I think there's also some problems around tone, right? It's not always going to sound like you. It's not always going to be part of your brand. And it just will always, at least for the foreseeable future, require someone who understands the concept and understands the tone to give it a proofread before sending it out to make sure that it's of high quality.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the people still run the machine.
Totally. This is not a driverless car, right? Like we're putting a turbo boost on the car to make us all go faster. But we still need a driver when it comes to training. Absolutely.
Well, and I think that actually leads to a really important question. Somebody dropped it into the chat. It's always going to come up when we're talking about new technology. I want to talk about it specifically in our world with training. Does this lead to job loss? Does AI replace humans?
Do you want to go first, Jeff, or do you want me to take it?
Oh, you go first.
Okay. Short answer is I think that for some people it may, and that not to be fatalistic, I think people who adapt to it, utilize it, embrace it, and work around it and with it will 100% be safe. I think there are, as things get faster, we will be asked more and more. So many of us, I'm lucky not to be one of them, but I have in previous lives been a one-woman training department, and that what's asked of us is enormous. And to not use tools that can make the job easier when the industry demands it and when companies demand it, it's easy to go, well, let's look at another direction. But it just adds to the value that we bring to the table. And so I think if you do embrace it, it wouldn't. But for those who are scared of it or choose, choose a different direction, or who can't for whatever reason work with it, I think there's a risk for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that having familiarity with GPT-3 and other similar types of technology will start to stand out on resumes, right? Because these tools do make you more efficient at your job. And so I think that's kind of like the next thing that we'll see, is that being something that we start to look for in recruiting and screening. And then eventually, if things continue in the direction that at least I anticipate them to, then we're going to have AI in our day-to-day, regardless of what job you're doing.
Mm. It's such an important point, but that, like I remember needing to make that shift, that it wasn't just about like being able to type 90 words per minute. I don't even know if I can do that anymore, but no idea. But being able to exemplify or to list out my skills in word processing technology, then it grew to Google Suite. Then it grew to like, what learning management systems are you proficient in? What languages are you proficient in? And I agree, this is just another layer that if you capitalize on it and you say, I'm going to become an expert in how to leverage AI for training purposes, then you're only going to position yourself as a higher earner in training rather than somebody who's having to find a new career. I know we're coming up on, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. Just zoom out real quick. I wanted to call out what Darian just posted in the chat. So we've talked a lot about how AI is going to affect individuals, especially in a training context, but it's also important to talk about how can AI drive business value. And with some of the advancements that we're seeing, what Darian threw in the chat here is that AI can recommend trainings and content based on data points. So like, one thing that comes to mind is, let's say you have a new menu item and it's selling great everywhere. It's a total hit, but for whatever reason, like the 3 stores in Atlanta haven't been selling it. We could easily look at that data point, and your training program could automatically say, hey, these 3 locations, something's going on there. They need to be retrained on that new menu item. we could send out the training and then point to how many dollars in business value were created just by that fully automated cycle.
And Rachel, I was also going to say that a lot of our IT departments are already on this for online ordering, for all of these things. And that one of the things we do at Bonchon is we look to say turnover's high, right? It just is. And we could hate it. We can try to combat it, which we do, but we also have to accept it. And that we want to look at our current team members as future guests. And we want their experience as a team member to be what they would experience as a guest. So we want it to be intuitive and friendly and cutting edge and fun and all of that stuff. We don't want it to be incongruent with what our guests experience. So we kind of have to stay up to date with what's happening outside of just training as well.
There's this is like the meat of the conversation I wanted to get to. So, and I think it's bringing up two questions, and then we're gonna make sure we're sending everyone back into their day so they can start to explore AI in new ways. Jeff, I think this one's for you from Chad. What about the fact that at this point, only big tech owns these AI and maybe stealing our data? Every conversation basically is owned by them, right?
Yeah, it's a great call out. So when you use these models, you are agreeing that they can take your data and use it to give you an answer. But part of giving them that data is that it might be used to help answer someone else's question, right? So it's not going to take it directly from what you said, but it will contribute to those 185 billion parameters that GPT-3 currently uses. So yeah, like when you use these, you do contribute to the models, obviously depending on the details. And I think this is an important conversation to have for sure.
The last question here before we toss it over to a surprise for everyone. So stay tuned over the next 120 seconds. I'm going to kind of rapid fire Jeff, Ashley, anyone in the chat. Is there a free version of these tools of ChatGPT? What can trainers do now without having to pay any money to experiment with this technology? Do you have any platforms that you can recommend?
I use ChatGPT, and I also use, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, DALL-E too, to get image suggestions. We can give it a lot of text and get some image suggestions. And the same thing with GPT chat, refine it down.
Yeah, that's what I recommend everyone starts with.
DALL-E is DALL-E, right? Did I get that right? Yeah.
That is correct.
There's also software that layers on top of these tools, of course. So I'll give you a good example. Sometimes I like to use Write Sonic to give my blogs a kickstart. Just to sort of give an outline for how I might want to write things. So there's lots of ways that you can experiment really easily, but the two that we dropped in the chat, I always get it wrong. Always. I said it right. No, I said chapped GPT. It's not chapped, not like chap lips. It's chat GPT for all those of you listening. I'm the CEO, not the CTO. I brought him on the call for a reason. Grammarly does great stuff. Yeah, you're really already using AI more than you think. Snapchat filters, all of that is there. So you all are probably using AI as we speak. I did want to toss this over just to give you all the opportunity to get some more resources. So for those of you who are attending today, if you are interested, then we can actually give you a sneak peek and would love your feedback on what we built on the course building side of AI generative, AI assist content building. So you can scan the QR code, give us your thoughts, give us your feedback. We want to hear from you, from the whole world of training experts. This is new, but also not so new technology. So it's cool stuff. Chart has been an incredible partner in thinking about how we can co-create a better world for our employees, for our businesses, for our own careers. By leveraging great technology means we have to work together to do that, to become experts together. So I would encourage you all, if you're interested in giving us your feedback, to do so. If you have additional questions, you can reach out to jeff@opus.so or Rachael@opus.so or Ashley@bonchon.com. I think I got that right, all the emails. And ask us your questions. And I think what we can do is generate a larger wiki around this and really start to share broader and broader ideas. We're just at the beginning of this, and there's a lot more to come. I think that's it. I think we ended just under the hour. Ashley, Jeff, you're amazing. Thank you everyone for attending today. Really incredible, interesting ideas, and obviously just the beginning. So I'm excited about what's next.
And bigger thank you so much to Rachael, Jeff, and Ashley. This was great information, and thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to everybody else for joining us also. Feel free to take a look at all of our prior webinars, which have been recorded and are available on our website at chart.org. I hope to see you all at an upcoming conference or at a chart event in the future. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.